Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be looking at Voctave with Kirstin Maldonado and Jeremy Michael Lewis doing the Disney Love Medley. Now, this week hasn't gone very well for me in terms of reactions. I tried something new by not watching the video beforehand, and the comments that I've gotten back were not really that good. So they were actually horrible at times. So I did look at this video a couple of times just to test that out. I will never lie to you to say that I haven't looked at a video. But the thing is I did that for another reason, and this week is also my father's birthday, and listening to Voctave, for some reason, it didn't just break me, it didn't make me weepy, it didn't make me that, it actually shattered me in ways that I didn't realize that I was going to get shattered. So I had to go back to figure out where and why and how. So I've watched this to try to figure that stuff out. And so I'm not going to talk about that any further, but I'm going to go back in and we're going to get started with this. And we're going to enjoy the Disney Love Medley with Kirstin, Voctave, and Jeremy.
Watching from the windows, all those years outside looking in, all that time never even knowing just how blind I've been. Now she's here, shining in the starlight. Now she's here.
So as you can see, the intensity is building here. One of the things that I noticed in this particular section here, Voctave again, my view of Voctave, just as I listen to them, is this is a group whose mission is to bring the soundstage of Disney, MGM, and all of classic Hollywood and classic Hollywood movies, and bring those soundtracks and all of that sound back to life. And to bring what made MGM and Disney and all of those classic Hollywood sounds special and bring them into the 21st century. And my father, like I said, he was born in 1924, so their sound was the soundtrack of my childhood, driving in the car with him. So when I listen to that stuff, it hits me in a different place than it hits maybe other people. And so as I was listening to it, I realized that maybe this is what triggered me, so to speak, in this. But getting back to Kirstin and Jeremy and everybody, I love the fact that they're very musical theater. They're very they're very wide and very bright. And that's a very Disney, it's very innocent. And when you're dealing with Disney stuff, when you're dealing with a love medley, it surrounds that whole idea of innocence, and love is innocent and beautiful and things like this. And they encapsulate that very well because they bring everything out this way. I saw some video comments about how this video was brought to you by Colgate, but this is what you do when you want it to sound bright and innocent and not sharp. You bring everything out to the side. You make it bright, and where they're putting everything's up front. And Jeremy, when he came in, he had that very nice, confident, a little bit pensive baritone sound. I know he's not a baritone, but he had that leading man, I'm seeing this person for the first time, I'm in awe sound, which is what is necessary here. So there's a reason this has 30 some odd million views. So I'm going to go back and we're going to watch his entrance again.
Now she's here,
can't get any more quintessentially 40s and 50s than what Kate and all of those beautiful women did right there. That is quintessentially 40s and 50s musical movie soundtrack stuff. And again, this was the soundtrack of my childhood. So this is just amazing. So I have to go back. I always go back to listen to those things again so we don't ruin the flow.
And at last I see the light, and it's like the sky is blue, and it's warm and real and bright, and the world has somehow shifted.
The bass in this section, I know we can talk about Kate and Tiffany and all of the ladies, but what the bass did there to help cement this passage here was just amazing. And again, I'm the opposite of a bass. I'm not the opposite of a bass, but I've always been amazed by people who can go down into that register and just live there and just make it beautiful. And because of moments like this, where they help cement this change in tempo and intensity, they did just an amazing job here. And also the fact that we're dealing with an a cappella group that just spends a lot of time figuring out ways to not have everybody sing in unison. And the chords that Kirstin and Jeremy sing right here are spectacular. These intervals that they're singing are just amazing to me. Like, it's genius. And again, I'm not a composer, so I can say I can never think of this, but it's just beautiful. So there.
It's warm and real and bright, and the world has somehow shifted. All at once, everything is different now that I see you. Come stop your crying, it'll be alright. Just take my hand, hold it tight.
Okay, I'd probably be remiss to not talk about Kate's note there. She is amazing. Like, it's like she's like Spider-Man. She has these she just shoots these beautiful high F's and A's and C's up there, just like wee, right? Go Gadget Kate. That's just how it is, and the way that she does that is just, it's beautiful. The way that she'll bend into it, like she'll just, like I said, it's like Spider-Man. Just she doesn't come in at the note like really sharp and heavy. She'll do a little, she'll lean into it, and that's quintessentially Broadway, or I'm sorry, quintessentially old school movie musicals, where that soprano will do that type of lean in. Again, this is a soundtrack of my childhood, and when she does that, I have, again, visions of sitting in the car with my dad listening to WOKY in Milwaukee, and that is just amazing. So I'll just go back a little bit. We don't have to hear her hit that note again because, well, it'll happen, I'm sure, somewhere down the road.
Just take my hand, hold it tight. I will protect you from all around you. I will be here, don't you cry. For one so small, you seem so strong. My arms will hold you, keep you safe and warm. This bond between us can't be broken. I will be here, don't you cry. Don't you cry when destiny calls you. You must be strong. You gotta be strong. It may not be with you, but you gotta hold on. Shoulder
I have so much to say there, but I've talked a lot in this video already. But that is so quintessentially movie musical. That's so quintessentially movie soundtrack. No matter what movie you've seen, the classic movie thing, there's always a moment where the chorus just takes over, and they do this wonderful takeover of the song. They sing the melody. They do a choral version of the refrain or the chorus, and here you are. And again, this is the greatest way that you can lead into the next song, because right there, what that did is it created that intensity that all of a sudden faded into this part here, and it just leads into the next song, and it's just beautiful. And so I'm going to go back a little bit so that we can hear this sort of move in, and the cool part is here Kirstin and Jeremy doing their conversation over this in the background. I'll call it a conversation. It's that's really just an amazing sort of thing. I just like it.
You'll be here in my I'll be with
Kate, when you do, I love these transitions. This is if you watch Pentatonics and they do their medleys, their evolutions of people, they'll have like 23 songs in like 7 minutes, right? Okay, I'm exaggerating there, but they have a lot more songs, and so the transitions are a little bit less like, they're not as drawn out. And so here, one of the things that Voctave does really well is they just create this beautiful way of moving from one song to another, and it may take like a minute to get you there. And Kate coming through, and she did this in the other one, is she'll have this note that just sort of carries out over the top to help bring in everybody else, to help bring up the intensity. And in this case here, you found out that she's not just light and fluffy up there. She can actually turn on the gas, and she can just make that thing rich, full, heavy duty, and just knock you out. And she has a lot of volume that she can play with. And that melts me every single time. This transition melts me every single time. This is the place where I turned into a sniveling idiot. So I'm going to go back a little bit so that we can look at the sound, listen to her just nail this transition. And again, they all did their part, but what she did by growing that intensity to the degree that she did, she makes the other members bring up their intensity to match hers, so that when we get to this climax, because this is actually, if you're thinking about this in terms of a movie, like a Disney movie, when you come to this particular this last song, and this is the last song, this is sort of that place where everybody is either getting married or they're doing this thing. They've defeated the dragon. They're doing the denouement, and they're really growing into that like happily ever moment, right? And so the song may not necessarily have the lyrics to do that, but the intensity is this sort of like, we're making the final push. We've made the final push. We are victorious, right? And so this to me is like one of those things where Kate helps build that intensity to make us turn the corner and go into this final part of this medley. And again, this is everything that a concert choir director loves. If we did this, now I'm looking back at my time in concert choir, chamber choir, and swing choir. If we had done this for our choir director, I think he'd be a puddle of goo on the floor, because this here is master's level singing, and it is masterful interpretation of, this is a masterful interpretation of the arrangement.
I'll be with you.
I have to go back to that because the thing about Voctave, remember it's Voctave featuring these people. Voctave is fully in control of this whole thing, and everybody else has to keep up. That is amazing. And you have like 8 people or 9 people. I don't know how many people are there. I know that over time it's adjusted itself, but they do everything in their power to set a stage, and everybody else has to come into that stage ready, prepared, and moving forward. And I do believe that Jeremy and Kirstin do a really great job of keeping up and keeping the intensity going, but at the same time, it's 2 against 8. And this is the place where, you know, you have to just go all in and just fight for every note, fight for everything, because Voctave, they're awesome, and they're going to own their arrangement, and you're going to have to play in their sandbox, and it's awesome. And they're doing a really great job of this. I mean, yes, Jeremy Michael Lewis might need to be a little bit heavier on his belt, but I'm okay. I'm going to go back a couple of, if I had to nitpick, that's the only thing I nitpick, but their chemistry is beautiful. They were, at the time, they were a couple, so of course they're going to do a love medley. This is just amazing stuff. So let's just go here from here. Still? Wow. Okay. Whew. Okay. Well, let's talk about that ending, I guess, because I was fine up until then. Okay. For those of you who know musical theater history, there are 2 musicals that popped to mind after I listened to that ending like 5 times or so. The Sound of Music, if you've heard Climb Every Mountain and Carousels, You'll Never Walk Alone, it has the same beat, like the same rhythm at the end. You'll never walk alone. Of course, there's actually notes associated with it. Or Until You Find Your Dream. And again, those 2 songs are used at the ending in the movie versions of those songs. The cool part is Disney owns The Sound of Music now, so they can borrow that rhythm forever. But I'm going to go back to that because you got to understand that this is how, in people who understand or who have been around a lot of musical theater and understand the history of it, this is like a quintessential signal to us that we have reached the end. And even with those beautiful chords at the end, it just re-intensifies that whole feel of that classic Hollywood stuff. And I cannot find a clip to save my life that actually shows that sort of tension in that dissonance to that release. And so let's just listen to that ending again, because I'm sorry, but it is beautiful. And if you know, like the last notes of You'll Never Walk Alone or Climb Every Mountain, you can hear it in the way that the rhythm goes, and you can hear the bass people doing that whole bass stuff to either sound like a timpani or like a bass. it still gets me because this is just musical mastery, and I melt for that. And especially in a choral environment like this. I mean, if you've watched my pentatonics videos, I usually have to take a moment afterwards to collect myself because I melt in a very weird way. It's mildly embarrassing. This actually is a lot less embarrassing than what originally happened a week ago.
Till I find my hero's welcome. And I know that he will be in my home.
Find your dream. That hurts. So again, I'm glad I got through this one. Because this is just, it had to happen because somehow they beat me. They destroyed me this past week. And you know, it's memories. Remember, the music is the thing that will connect you to the stuff that makes you. And so, you know, and this is stuff that made me. I mean, Voctave will always probably do this to me in some ways when it's a song that I'm probably not familiar with. But Voctave will probably do this to me on a consistent basis where they will just like grind me into the dirt, and it's okay. I will appreciate every single moment that they do that. So anyway, I hope that you enjoyed this video. It's been really long. I have to get back into the swing of doing things the way that I normally do them. Otherwise, I will never get any videos out. But Voctave is amazing, and I do want you guys to go through, and I want you to timestamp and to make a conversation. I know I've dribbled on about stuff and I paused a lot during this video, but you got to understand that this is a complicated musical piece, and it has a lot of moving parts, and it has a lot of great places within it. And so, with that, I'm going to let you guys go. Timestamp, have conversations. The community, the comment section is your community, and so as long as you stay civil and happy, the comments will continue to flow. And with that, I'm going to let you guys go, and as always, be safe.